Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Outer Rim finally getting an expansion. We're going to be talking about this and more. I'm going to be recapping everything that, or at least all the big points that we were talking about during the in-flight brief from Fantasy Flight Games. If you guys are new here to the channel, there's still time left to enter to win that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. Plus, if you're new here, I'd love to have you stick around anyway. I talk a lot about Star Wars games, particularly a lot of the miniatures games, but also games like Outer Rim, Rebellion. I love the Star Wars tabletop experience, and that's kind of one of the things that I do. If you haven't noticed, I'm kind of on my own Star Destroyer right now. So, well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of it is not Star Wars centric, though. As you know, we have all of these miniatures games, X-Wing, Armada, Legion, all got moved over to Atomic Mass Games back in November of last year, and a lot of people have been asking, wait, does that mean FFG can't make Star Wars games anymore? No. So big thing I want to clarify for a lot of people, Asmodee holds the Star Wars gaming license, right? So Asmodee is the ones who are the license keepers. They are the gatekeepers, and I am the key master. No, but for real, any Asmodee company technically can make games. So FFG is still going to keep making the games. They still have Outer Rim, Rebellion, and Imperial Assault over under their kind of purview. So yeah, look for more of that. You know, there was some talk a while back about Imperial Assault still having more to go. That can still happen. It would probably happen under FFG since Imperial Assault did not move over to Atomic Mass Games. But Outer Rim, as we can see, still life in the tabletop board game world of Star Wars under Fantasy Flight Games. We've got the Fantasy Flight Games little bit of logo right there. So, let's break down everything. So I want to start at the beginning. First thing they talked about was Descent. So we're just recapping the in-flight brief. I'm going to try and run through this fairly quickly because some of these games I don't play very much. So Descent, Legends of the Dark just came out. They talked about that a little bit. A lot of excitement behind that game. I haven't played it yet, but Descent is a cool world. I like Terranoth. I loved Rune Wars miniatures game, and then Legion came out and they kind of killed that for me. But I like the Terranoth world. They're revamping the Terranoth world with a new initiative called Terranoth Legends. We're going to find out more about that. Descent Legends of the Dark is going to have more stuff coming out. They showed us this pretty cool miniature here. This is from the Ghosts of Greyhaven. And then they had another even bigger miniature that was covered up, but it's like probably like this tall. It was over a foot tall. It was mostly covered up though, so you could just see that they're gonna do some really big miniatures. So Fantasy Flight can still do miniatures. They're still allowed to do miniatures. Just all my favorite miniatures games happen to move over to AMG, and but they can still do miniatures at Fantasy Flight. So that's still pretty cool. All right. So let's talk about Keyforge because I wanted to talk about Keyforge a little bit. A lot of this stuff. A lot of the first half of the in-flight brief was stuff that people mostly already knew about. There's a problem with the naming generation software for Keyforge. So Keyforge is on hiatus, is the term they're giving to it. It's on hold, but it's not dead. And which actually brings me to a great opportunity. I want to talk about today's sponsor for today's video. They make Keyforge tokens. They make a lot of tokens for Arkham games, X-Wing, Keyforge, all the best tokens. They're full metal, double-sided tokens. They're called Luxury Playstyle. If you haven't heard of them, go over to luxuryplaystyle.com. Check out their amazing line of tokens, L5R, all of your favorite FFG games. Get your full metal deluxe tokens there. You're going to save 15% if you use code Crabbok VIP. And on orders of $35 or higher, you also get a free lightsaber nunchuck token thrown in while supplies last. That's kind of my thing, is lightsaber nunchucks. So yeah, you get one for free. And you can use it as light side versus dark side. It's got blue on the front, red on the back. You can use it as a damage counter for 5 on the back. You can do a lot of stuff with it. But check out Luxury Playstyle. So, because they make Keyforge, they make Arkham, and we're going to be talking about both of those games in here too. So Keyforge is on hold right now. They definitely have plans to get Keyforge back as soon as they can fix the naming algorithm. Basically, deck names, right? Deck names used to go through this crazy algorithm that they had really tweaked, and it had come a long way because, hey, when the game first came out, how many of you guys remember there were some inappropriate names? So a lot of work went into this software that could create thousands and thousands and thousands of totally unique names with no duplicates and absolutely nothing offensive. So it wasn't as trivial as just like random number generators. They actually had to, do a lot of processing to these names. Now, I don't think it'll be that difficult that they'll never get back up and running, because they absolutely have plans to get back up and running. And not only do they have a new set to come out with a new faction of merchants, they're also going to be bringing Mars as a house back to the game. But also, they're going to be coming back with some digital versions of Keyforge once the game comes back. Anyway, so they have a lot of plans. So this is very different from a game getting canceled or from a game just kind of going on the shelf like Imperial Assault. All right, it's like they really they have stuff planned. They have artwork done. They have a lot of stuff ready to go. They just have to fix one key aspect, and that's deck naming. Once that happens, boom, it's back. So this is just a short-term hold for Keyforge. So they definitely want to bring that back. They talk about some of their other games. Game of Thrones Betwixt is a new strategy game where you're going to be in between two players and all of your forces stuff, either ally with the person on your left or the person on your right. So they talked about that a little bit. Unfathomable, which I'm actually kind of excited about this. This is basically the Arkham horror version of Battlestar Galactica. So they don't have the license to do Battlestar Galactica stuff anymore. So they just took this great game that was Battlestar Galactica, reskinned it as Arkham Horror, and said instead of on the Battlestar Galactica trying to stay alive with Cylons all around you, wondering if somebody became a Cylon on your crew, now you're on a submarine and trying to make sure that nobody's been driven insane by all the Elder Gods and stuff, and all the monsters and stuff in the ocean. So it really fits the theme, I believe there's a few new twists in there too, so it won't be an exact copy paste of the same game. But that was definitely a theme of the night too. Was a lot of stuff just repeating the formula that works, but also you'll see there's some things that they're kind of repackaging older out of print things or games that have been out for a very long time. They're like, hey, here's the first 2 or 3 years worth of content all in one box. As far as Unfathomable, it's being delayed. It was supposed to be out I think later this month. It's going to be out later, maybe by the end of the year. But again, there's literally a giant monster in the sea eating spaceships right now, or eating ships. No, not literally. There's figuratively with the shipping crisis that's happening right now. So that affects everybody. So we really have a hard time trying to predict when new products are going to come out. So Unfathomable is kind of unknown when it's going to be out. They're expecting it by the end of the year at least. Lord of the Rings. They talked a little bit about Lord of the Rings. There's definitely some new stuff coming for Lord of the Rings as far as they're trying to do some of the old packs. They're going to come back and do some more of those. And then of course they have the Spreading War. This will be the last big box expansion for Journeys in Middle-earth. So it doesn't mean that they're completely done, because there's going to be some more smaller expansions, but I think that they didn't intend for the Journeys in Middle-earth to be an infinitely expanding game. They wanted to do a set amount of expansions for it. So it sounds like this is the final big box one. I mean, it's cool that they're being transparent. FFG has always been not that the game's going to die, but they're saying, hey, this is the targeted end point, this, and then maybe a smaller wave of expansions after this, and then maybe the game will be done. Arkham has got the Machinations Through Time, a lot of time-specific stuff. They talked about their new campaign boxes. They want to have a lot more stuff in these bigger boxes, and this is going to be their route going forward. And not only for forward campaigns, but they want to redo a lot of the card cycles from the past. So Dunwich Legacy is also going to be the first one of those where they kind of get those early stories, repackage them together so you don't have to go chasing down stuff, and and so they're going to be re-releasing old content in a new box too, which is cool. They're going to be doing that for Lord of the Rings, the card game as well. And so that's going to be, because this one, I guess, has been out for 10 years. They're going to be re-releasing a lot of the older stuff. They did say not 100% of the old content, but important story arcs. So lots of, select pieces of, hey, these couple of packs all need to be together in one big campaign pack. They're also taking some scenarios that were for a very specific and out of print, a very limited time exclusive set, and releasing those under the Dark of Mirkwood pack. So and also a lot of the new scenarios that they're going to be making with some of these, if you already have all that old stuff, there'll be some new scenarios in here. You don't have to buy that. You can get they're going to have a print and play stuff like that, so you can get access to your old stuff. The next hero pack coming out from Marvel Champions is going to be Vision, and he's going to have a pre-built protector deck, and so he's the next one in the current cycle. and they teased that they had nothing left for Marvel Champions, and then, of course, like with Spiderweb drops down, and we've got a Spiderverse set that is coming next called Sinister Motives. And this one is going to feature Spider heroes and facing up against the Sinister Six villains. So we've got like Electro in there. We've got Mysterio. We've got Doc Ock. It looks like Kraven, Sandman, Venom. We've got Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen in there. And, of course, they talk a little bit more about some of the other characters that we can expect to see that will be other Spider-Verse characters. A lot of people are expecting someone like Spider-Ham to show up. So who knows? But there's definitely a lot of possibilities for different Spider characters. I would expect that if you've seen into the Spider-Verse, then you might have at least some idea of some of the characters that might be showing up. That would be a good guess as far as I'm concerned, but I guess we'll have to see. And then Twilight Imperium. There was some talk there hitting the 25th anniversary of Twilight Imperium. No new games. I know a lot of people have been speculating, will they release a 5th edition of Twilight Imperium? And I think it's vastly too soon to release a 5th edition for Twilight Imperium. I think you probably have at least another 6 years of playing TI4 before that one becomes exhausted, plus at least 1 or 2 more expansions for TI4 before you've kind of exhausted the design space. And honestly, for me, TI4 is the definitive Twilight Imperium. Like, I don't see a need for a 5th edition unless it just becomes a cash grab, or maybe do what they've done here, and like once you have a couple of expansions, re-release it with all of its expansions, so it's just, hey, you can buy everything in one big box, so you don't existing players don't feel compelled to like have to hunt down like, oh, I wanted all these expansions, but I don't want to buy the game because there's like 5 different boxes. Well, now you can just get a big box and maybe even save 10% or something like that. But they're going to be doing some comics by CMON. And so CMON is going to be releasing some comics for Twilight Imperium, which is interesting. It's an interesting partnership. But yeah, so they're going to be doing that. And also L5R is going to be doing Android, Arkham, TI4 fan sites are going to be coming out too. So like a lot of these properties. Well, Android is also getting a comic by CMON. L5R, Arkham, and TI4 or TI Twilight Imperium are getting their own fan sites. So yeah, slight correction there. So over the last 2 slides, Twilight Imperium and Android are getting comics through the partnership with CMON. And then fan sites are going up so they can sell merch based on these IPs, based on these games. And that's going to be for L5R first, then Arkham, and then Twilight Imperium universe as well. And all of that led to the next part. If you watched the in-flight brief, you saw a huge section on game development and what it's like to pitch an idea and how a company decides which game to make. It does sound like they're looking at doing legacy games, but it was kind of dry. I think a lot of people were there to see new announcements, and then all of a sudden we kind of got like a TED talk on what it's like to have somebody pitch you a game. And so a lot of people weren't crazy about that. There was a lot of negative comments in the chat. And then they came back on. Chris Gerber, FFG head of studio, came on, and then it seemed like they were done. And I'm like, wow, was that it? And then, of course, they play a trailer, which just shows this with a lot of quotes. When are you guys doing Outer Rim? When are you guys doing Outer Rim? So they did not talk about unfinished business. But they did announce unfinished business. And we've got Dengar on the cover. We've got his ship, the Punishing One, and in front of that as well. We've got Ziltan Moj, or Zizor, or Black Sun. So could this kind of be in the vein of the criminal underworld, like a lot of the other Star Wars games that are all coming out at the same time? Like that could be pretty interesting. Their official statement is that they capped off the in-flight report with a very brief teaser on the long-awaited expansion for Star Wars Outer Rim, titled Unfinished Business. We won't have any additional information on this product to share for some time, but rest assured, it is coming. Well, I'm glad that it is finally confirmed, so people can stop, wondering when Outer Rim, or if Outer Rim is getting an expansion, but I'm glad that it's finally become official now. All right, guys, that's all I've got. That was basically the in-flight report. I'd say it feels a lot more slimmed down ever since the X-Wing Legion and Armada have kind of departed FFG. It's like they had a lot less, but also feels like they're really leaning into existing IPs. Would like for them to have leaned into Star Wars a little bit more, but this was also very kind of refreshing because, hey, it's like FFG can still make Star Wars games. So my next question is, what's next for Rebellion? What's next for Rebellion, Fantasy Flight? Come on, give me some more Rebellion. Either an expansion or a second edition or something like that. You could do Rebellion in the Clone Wars. If you don't want to do Rebellion specifically, you can do something else that's like Rebellion. It is a literal masterpiece of a board game. So I'd love to see some more Rebellion. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you right now. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing. When you are flying in your spaceship going throughout the galaxy, don't let the little ones steal the little knobs off of your stick shift, because then you might crash.